Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chi. I'm a service manager here at Care First. Thank you for attending today's webinar called Looking After Our Relationships During COVID-19 Lockdown. Once the presentation is finished, I will leave some time at the end for any questions that you may have, and I will answer them as best I can. So, the current pandemic is changing all of our lives quite dramatically. That includes the interaction we have within our communities, our friends and family, our work colleagues, and of course, our very close personal relationships. The way in which we used to interact has fundamentally changed globally, as this is a global tragedy. Those of us working from home are spending 24/7 with those living in the same household, whether they are family, lodgers, and anyone who may live with us. And this, in many cases, is causing a lot of disharmony. So looking at our spouses and looking at our partners or spouses, many feel they have been forced together, and this may cause friction and stress. We know from the press and recent research that the instances of domestic violence and abuse has risen by 25%. And this is causing upset for many couples who are feeling trapped at the moment, especially as our usual escape routes, if only for a short time, such as school runs, are blocked. Although we hopefully will not be in this type of situation ourselves, be aware that even good relationships can struggle and go through difficulties. Not being able to do the things we used to normally be able to do is having an impact on relationships. And at a time of this global uncertainty, we have to look at the possible changes to our personal relationships. So just as we are doing new things as we face this new way of being, it may be worth being more understanding and kind with each other. And that all takes a level of self-awareness. For example, being aware of our own behavior and the impact that may be having on our spouses or partners. Some tips to help maintain any relationship that you have, whether it's with your spouse, your partner, or family member. The first one, and sometimes the obvious one, is be kind. The next one I would say, listen to not just what you're saying, but the words being used and the meaning behind them. I know that sometimes when tensions are heightened, especially speaking from personal experience, things come out very differently in heightened stress and anxiety. So it's always good to try and look at what you're saying and the tone at which you're saying them. Take time to talk and be real within the relationship, talking things through at the time instead of allowing resentment to build between you. So when anything is on your chest, or if any negativity is brewing, take the time and be real within the relationship and get it off your chest as soon as possible to stop that resentment from building. Check out misunderstandings as soon as possible and not let things build to an argument by allowing things to get out of hand just because of a misunderstanding. And again, this really goes back to the point of, really just misunderstandings sometimes are when individuals kind of don't listen to each other properly, or maybe what they're supposed to say comes out wrong. It is really good to check out those misunderstandings as soon as possible with individuals so they don't snowball out of control and lead to any upset or an argument. The next one I would say is clear the air in a grown-up way. And that's not there to sound condescending at all. It's just that sometimes in the midst of an argument, I think that things can be said incorrectly, or if you're clearing the air, sometimes it can come out in more of a childish manner. And it is always good to clear the air in a grown-up, calm way. Next one I would say is make sure you are able to express your feelings and check out both parties understand what the other means. Sometimes when you're in an argument, it's difficult to get across exactly how you feel. I think it's always important in an argument to, when you're speaking to somebody, is to really express how you're feeling about a situation. Try to establish space within the home, somewhere you can retreat to if you are struggling. And if working from home, try to find a separate working space. Kind of gives your partner or that family member that breathing space away from each other, so you're not around each other 24/7. Divide tasks fairly, so one doesn't feel put on to do everything. It's easy sometimes if you're living with somebody, that somebody will take control of a situation and maybe do more tasks than the other person. Sometimes that can build resentment. If you have children in the house, take turns with the childcare and homeschooling to give that other person maybe a little bit of a break from it. And if you had date nights before lockdown, try to do the same now, perhaps by planning and cooking a meal together and eating it at the table and not in front of the TV. Sitting down and eating in front of each other at the table really does go a long way with building relationships and taking that time out with each other. And finally, have fun together wherever possible. I hope you find this short video on maintaining relationships useful. If anyone has any questions at all, I would be more than happy to answer them as best I can. Thank you for the comments. If anyone is struggling at the moment at home, one of the things I would say is please feel free to call Care First and speak to a counsellor where they can offer advice if you're feeling stressed at home because of certain relationships, whether that be with a family member or with your spouse. Please feel free to give Care First a call and speak to a counsellor, and they can give you some support over the phone as well. And it's good really to talk to somebody that isn't in that environment. Thank you, Sue. I hope you can take some useful tips from this webinar, and like I said, please feel free to give Care First a call and speak to a counsellor, where you can speak to a person on the outside and they can give you any tips and advice also. Ionis, a lot of my relationships are tested. Yeah, you know, at the moment they will be. You know, the situation at the moment is very heightened, and it's difficult really sometimes for individuals to kind of understand where you are and how you're feeling as well. Like I said, the best thing to do really is to give our counsellors a call, and they can help defuse those situations and give you some tips and advice on how to handle those difficult situations as well with individuals at home that you may not be getting on with at the moment. Hi, Jenny. Yeah, so some of the questions are coming up. Some of them I feel are to myself that may be a little bit personal, so I apologise if the answers aren't relevant to yourselves. So I'm just kind of answering the questions and not really going into some of the questions, because I feel that some of them may be a little bit too personal to put out there in front of everybody. Again, like I said, if anyone really is struggling at the moment, especially if you're struggling at home with family members, children, if you are just struggling in general just due to the COVID-19 lockdown, please do feel free to give our counsellors a call, and they can give you some real support over the phone and real advice, one-to-one advice. Well, thank you everybody today for joining the webinar. If you have any further questions that you wanted answered directly, then please feel free to email myself. You should have my email address there, and I will be more than happy to answer them as best I can. So please feel free to email me for any reason whatsoever. Again, if anyone is looking for support regarding relationships, or if you are struggling with a relationship, whether it be a spouse or a family member, then please feel free to call our counselling team, where they can give you the support, one-to-one support and advice over the phone. Thank you.